Hey everybody, David here, and today I want to talk about The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves and starring Robert Pattinson as the Caped Crusader. I was really looking forward to this movie and didn't live up to the hype, especially with all the great reviews that this movie is getting. I think it's like an 86% or something like that. I don't remember right now. It might have changed since then. But what did I think of this movie? I think this movie lived up to the hype. I really enjoyed myself all the way through. This movie is a detective story. And first of all, some people might be like, well, wasn't Dark Knight a little bit of a detective thing going on? We saw him investigating stuff, not to the extent that this movie does. I think this movie goes balls to the walls on the detective side, and they really lean into it hard. I can see this movie not really working for a lot of people. Some people might find this movie a little slow. I thought it was great. I love seeing Batman and Gordon working together throughout this entire film. The relationship between Robert Pattinson's Batman and Jeffrey Wright's Commissioner Gordon was so great. I think the Christian Bale and Gary Oldman Batman and Gordon worked really well together too, and I felt that this movie was somewhat aligned with the way they played with Gordon and Batman. This is a very similar fashion, but even more so because you see the two of them really solving these cases together. I mean, these crimes that the Riddler is setting. By the way, Paul Dano as the Riddler is fantastic. He brings out these creep vibes, very much like the movie Zodiac. I would say this movie even is very similar to the Zodiac film starring Robert Downey Jr., Jake Gyllenhaal, and Mark Ruffalo. If you haven't seen that movie, I think last time I saw it, it was on um Netflix. So maybe go and check that movie out. Paul Dano was terrific. He's been in some really good movies. So when he was casted in this movie, I knew right away, okay, this is going to be a completely different Riddler from the Riddler we saw in like Batman Forever, the Frank Gorshin Riddler, stuff like that. This is going to be completely uh, crazy and dramatic, a very dramatic departure from what we know of the Riddler before. And I'm happy that we got that. And wait until you guys see how he is in this movie. I thought he was fantastic. Zoe Kravitz is really great as Catwoman. I don't think there's really been no failed attempts at Catwoman aside from the Halle Berry film, but even Halle Berry had that sexiness quality to her that Catwoman needs to have, but also that tough angle as well. And I think Zoe Kravitz carries that. I thought Anne Hathaway was really good at that too, and I thought Michelle Pfeiffer, obviously the best. Although I think Zoe Kravitz could go toe to toe with Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. Anne Hathaway too. I like all three of them, so it doesn't really matter. But yes, Robert Pattinson himself, I think, is the person that a lot of people are going to want to talk about. I think Robert Pattinson was awesome. And look, I didn't like Twilight. I saw only the first Twilight movie, and I was like, enough. The only thing I really knew him from was Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. That was the only movie I liked that he was in. And really, it didn't, because he wasn't the main character in that, I'm like, well, I don't know. So when I heard he was casted in this role, I'm like thinking, I'll give him a chance. Why? Because a lot of the people that have watched movies beyond Harry Potter and Twilight say he's fantastic in everything else he's in. Actually, I did see something else he was in, Tenet, which I thought he was really good in. But this movie solidifies him as a really terrific Batman. I mean, when we talk about our favorite Batmans, we got Michael Keaton up there, we got Ben Affleck, we got Christian Bale, now we got Robert Pattinson in the mix. Those are going to be the top four contenders for a lot of people. In what order? It doesn't matter because they were all great. So you guys can decide. I'll be doing my list on that very soon. But yes, Robert Pattinson is a terrific Batman, and he does like his own voice too. It's similar somewhat to Christian Bale, but not to the extent of Christian Bale. And I think a lot of people are gonna appreciate that in his performance for Batman here. This is a very dark and gritty Batman. Um, when they say, yeah, this is going to be more darker than the Dark Knight, they're not joking. This is a darker film than The Dark Knight. Even the style and look of the film is very, very dark. Where I'm like, man, when are things gonna brighten up a little bit? But no, I liked it a lot. I thought it set the atmosphere really good. And look, I am looking forward to a sequel. At the end of this movie, they hint at something really cool. Some people have mixed feelings about the ending of the movie. I actually ended up really enjoying the ending. I'm like waiting because I remembered in other reviews, people are like, the third act kind of falls apart, or it's not as strong, or something like that. And I'm like, when I realized I was at the end of the movie, I'm like, wait a minute, what was the third act problem that people were having with? Maybe because it's not a traditional ending. I don't know. But I thought it was great, and I want my sequel because what they tease at the very end, um, in Arkham Asylum, I think is going to be fun and exciting. And the story in general, where they could go next, would be very cool and interesting to watch. And I wish I could spoil it, but I'm not going to, so I'll leave it at that. With that being said, I'm giving this movie a 9 out of 10. So yeah, I'm ranking this up there with The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises and Batman Begins. It's like it's definitely going to challenge the Nolan verse, or Nolan's Batman trilogy, for sure, easily. So go out and tell me what you guys think about it. Did you enjoy this movie or did you not? Comment below, let me know, and keep out for more Batman videos next week, where I'll be doing some ranking. I want to rank the films, and all the Batman live action films, and I want to rank the Batman performances. Who's going to be my favorite Batman? You're gonna have to wait and find out. And maybe I'll even do one for the Batman movie villains. Who is my favorite movie villain? So we'll see. With that being said, until next time, everybody, take care.